Hi, thanks for joining me for our story today from the New Testament in the Gospel Story Bible. Wanted to remind you of our church picnic this coming Sunday, the 25th at 5 o'clock. You can go online and register to attend and sign up for chicken tenders, and then bring other sides for your family. Water bottles and an ice cream treat will be provided as well. We look forward to seeing you then. Okay, our story today is The Wise and Foolish Builders. Maybe that brings to mind a certain kids song. We haven't sung that in church, in children's worship at least, in a while. The wise man built his house upon the rock. The foolish man built his house upon the sand. Do you remember that one? So this is what that story is about. Here is the picture. This is from Matthew chapter 7, verses 15 through 27. Near the end of his teaching on the mountain, remember that's referring to the Sermon on the Mount in Matthew, I believe 5 through 8, where Jesus just gives a lot of teaching, a lot of good things to a large group of people, including the Beatitudes and the last couple of things that we've read about. Jesus told stories called parables and used word pictures that would help people remember what he said. For example, Jesus said that false prophets, people who didn't tell the truth about God, were like wolves who try to sneak their way into God's flock of sheep. They dress up like sheep, so they look like sheep on the outside, but inside they are wolves who want to attack the sheep and kill them. Jesus used another word picture to explain how God's people could recognize these wolves. Jesus said that every tree bears its own special kind of fruit. If you have an apple tree, you get apples, but you won't get apples from a grapevine. If you have a healthy tree, you will get good fruit, but the fruit from a diseased tree will be bad. If you see a tree and don't know what kind it is, you can look at its fruit and you will know, and you will be able to tell if the fruit is good or bad. People don't bear fruit like trees, of course, but Jesus was saying you can tell a lot about people by their fruit, the things they do and say. If a person tells you he's a Christian, but he does things that are sinful, he may not be a Christian at all. Just because someone says he is a Christian doesn't mean that God has changed him on the inside in his heart. That's why we compare the words someone says with the fruit of his life, his words and actions. Jesus also taught a parable about two builders. He says, "Everyone who hears my words and obeys them will be like a wise man who built his house on a rock. When the rains fell and the floods came, the winds blew and beat on that house. It did not fall because it had been built on the rock. But a man who does not obey my teaching is like a man who builds his house on sand." If you've ever made a sand castle at the ocean, you know how well that goes. When the wind and rains come to his house, the water will carry away the sand from under his house. It will crash to the ground because its foundation has been washed away. When Jesus finished teaching these parables, the crowds were amazed at what he had said. They had never heard anyone talk about God and sound so sure about what he was saying. Of course, we know that Jesus is no ordinary man. He is also the Son of God. The warnings Jesus gave the crowd are written in the Bible for us too. We need to build our house, our life, on the rock. That means we need to put our trust in Jesus, the rock of our salvation. Jesus warned people that not everyone goes to heaven. Even if we try really, really, really hard to be good, one sin ruins our perfect record and makes us God's enemies. And no one can be that good. No one but Jesus. Jesus said that only those who do his Father's will go to heaven. God the Father sent his Son Jesus to die on the cross for all the sinful things we do. If we trust in God, the Father's plan, we are doing the Father's will. That's building your house on the rock. No one can be that good. No one but Jesus. And doesn't that give you a little bit of freedom? It makes you feel a little like the burden has been lifted of having to try to be good all the time because we can't. And that's why we rely on Jesus, who gives us that grace to be free and not be burdened by the weight of our sin. He asks us to give him that burden. Who built his house on the sand? The wise man or the foolish man? The foolish man. He built his house on the sand. And what did the wise man build his house on? On the rock, with a firm foundation so that it wouldn't wash away. Why is trusting in Jesus like building your house on the rock? It's so that your firm foundation doesn't wash away. If it's built on the rock, if it's built on Jesus, then you can rest on him. You can be assured that he will send his Holy Spirit to help you, to bring you comfort and peace and strength when times get hard. I'll be praying for each of you that you will build your firm foundation on Jesus. Thanks for joining me. Take care.